Well, the first thing you want to do is compliment you on that amazing guitar stand.
Yeah. Uh,
That's very impressive.
it's two-tiered and it spins.
It spins, of course, yeah. Not the sort of thing you take on the road,
No,
but looks great there, yeah.
I
Very
call
good.
this my office. So this is what a
Yeah,
musician's office looks like.
yeah, yeah. So, if you don't mind my sharing a little bit, let's see, yeah, you really can't see it. I say my keyboard's right next to my desk. Same thing. So, um, you've been a fan of Masters Radio for a while. We did have a print interview from you, a supporter of ours, and we thank you for that. This is
Yeah,
my
man.
first time meeting you, but my colleague Rob said you were a big fan of the station and what we're hoping to accomplish here by supporting the musicians that, like Collective Soul, first got our attention at least 20 years ago and are still making great music. I have listened to Serengeti Driver. I've listened to the Collective Soul albums. It's amazing stuff. I mean, it's to me, Collective Soul is kind of like a definitive '90s sound. You know, when you play Shine or something like that, people go, "Yeah, '90s." But so relevant are the new records now that it's a treat to listen to this stuff. How do you feel about that being that way? What is it, 30 almost 30 years later?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's just natural. It's like it's what gets our blood flowing, and it's still something we have to do. I still live in the studio all the time, and Ed's constantly. I mean, he's a prolific writer. He's constantly still writing, and a lot of it still just creatively flows the way it always did. And I don't question that until I start thinking about, like you said, you start referencing it and comparing yourself to maybe some other bands that aren't able to continue creating like that. But man, it's just natural for us. We're in a great spot. This last record we just recorded in Palm Springs at Elvis's old house, his Palm Spring residence. We went there and just crushed another record. Man, I can't wait for y'all to hear that one.
Excellent. Yeah, looking forward to that. So, speaking of studio, Reel to Reel, your studio, you guys did a big event this past weekend, right?
Yeah, I'm producing a lot of people and trying to get some people into my production company. And so, like, as far as marketing that, we thought that we could market the artist as a package to some of these people that call and, there's an event or a festival or this last Saturday night was at a cool venue in McDonough, Georgia, called Southern Roots. So we just it was all reel to reel artists, and we branded it that way. And then obviously we're going to feature the artist, but there's the reel to reel logo there. So we got a little strength and a little marketing there when we packaged our bands together.
Very good. Did that achieve your expectations, or what do you hope to accomplish by doing those kinds of outreaches?
I think we get people start to know a little bit about what we do in other ways other than hearing records and streams. I think we get to have a little bit of a community. We've got real people, music friends, and bands that we hang together now, and so I think and watching each other play, supporting each other on stage. I think those things are can help build a vibe because I want our it's not a I'm across all the boards as far as style of music, but I do want it to feel like a community vibe. There's more than one style, but I want our real people music group to feel like family.
Excellent. Yeah, we certainly appreciate the notion of a music community. That's what we are. We want to put the fans that, like myself, who literally you were as were the soundtrack to our lives growing up, and to see that these artists often have music that nobody's hearing, have other issues that we could perhaps help out with, like healthcare challenges or insurance and things like that. We provide all that for these artists that, as I said, created the music to our lives. So community is really important, in having your fans and your work be able to come together either locally through what you're doing with Reel to Reel, or hopefully globally through Masters Radio. It
Right.
seems a great way to give back for all the wonderful stuff you've done. For these musicians that you're exposed to at Reel to Reel or elsewhere, what would you say from your perspective of doing this for as long as you have and seeing how the music business has changed?
Mm.
What would you say to somebody who wants to walk your path? What should they do? What should they look out for?
You know, I think on the creative artist side, it's the same thing I would have told somebody. Yeah, we have seen an amazing evolution of the music industry, starting in the early '90s. But I would say the creative artist side is still like a lot of the same advice I would say to somebody 30 years ago. You know, create create from what feels good. Don't try to follow a trend, and you know, lean on some of your influences in life, but always explore more and just find that artist side that feels like you're passionate and you're being creative and you're following your own intuition instead of following somebody else's, and just see if you can help that out and watch it blossom. And you do that through, like I said, you can hang out with other people, with other musicians, and you just work on your art. You go play those shows, play those songs live. um, it doesn't matter if it's a solo acoustic gig or with a band. Get out and play them. And Jackson Brown's always a good example. He said you have to work at this. You have to continually work at this to write a song. It's a continual thing. And I think with all artists, it's a little different. But um, Jackson Brown was always known for saying that, yeah, I have to work at this. This is something that I have to put time into every day and try to get better. So.
Very good. Thank you. Uh, how would you say what you're doing locally is helping new artists, or are you only working with fairly established artists?
Yeah. Yeah. So, we're plucking some artists right out of some local stages and asking them if they would be interested in letting us produce them. And you know what, man, it's turned out, some of these people are just naturals. They just have never been introduced to a recording studio. Mary Martin comes to mind. Me and Brian Collins, my partner in the production company, we would watch her play acoustic a lot at our local, and we always loved her sound, but we didn't rush to try to get her to um, come work with us. And finally we just asked her, show us some of your originals and let's get together. And sure enough, man, she got in front of that real stuff, the real microphones and the real preamps, and she was just a natural. So yeah, check out Mary Martin's stuff. Yeah, all these bands that I get to work with, I appreciate when they allow me to, they have to let down their guard a little bit and allow me to just see what comes to my brain naturally, and we grow from there. So it's been fun. It's been a great experience. And we'll
It's a
keep
very
doing it.
collaborative project, I'd imagine. Now, I suspect you were writing music. I suspect Ed was writing music during the pandemic when we're all locked up in our respective offices and couldn't go anywhere. Have any of the lessons you learned working in isolation help you now? I mean, are you still doing some of the things that you did that way?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, COVID. There was always a silver lining, and I was at the studio a lot. And working on it. I got to work on some music with my boys too, because we were all grounded. My three sons, we played a lot together during COVID. Yeah, so those were some of the silver linings. I was in the studio a lot. I wasn't on tour. I was working on some music with my boys. So yeah, I mean, it's a continual evolution. So everything I do and everything I experience, I try to take with me, to the next level.
Very good. Now, we're going to see an album from the Turpin Boys like we did from John Fogerty's family?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think Tristan's playing out some of his originals right now, and he's 25, so he's ready to record, and I'm excited to see what he does. So he'll probably have a record out by the end of this year.
Very good. Very good. It got to be a lot of fun to watch your kid take hold of the same thing that made you passionate and roll with it. That's got to be both fun and challenging for him. He's got some shoes to fill, right?
I guess so. Yeah, it's hard for me to have that perspective. My father was a musician too, and there's I guess a little pressure there, but he's a great artist. Tristan's a great artist in his own right. He just needs to stay to what he feels, because his feeling, his intuition on everything is great. I'm really impressed by it.
Excellent. Excellent. Sounds like a proud dad, indeed. Okay, so speaking of inspirations, and what would you say that's a memorable experience or a turning point working with Collective Soul that's had the most significant impact on you?
Yeah, I mean, the records are something that we take a lot of pride in, and we've gotten really good at focusing in on a vibe and aiming for it together. We've gotten really good at that. We between me, Ed, and Dean now doing it 30 years, and now Johnny and Jesse have been with us both over a decade. Um, I think all those experiences have culminated to where we really have fun in the studio. There's a lot of unspoken type things that are going on. That's just because we've developed it over these years, and that's fun to watch because I know what we're doing. And we're thinking the same thing, and we're not even wasting the time talking about it. And we're moving forward real quick, and then we get into the engineers room with Sean, our engineer co-producer, and we're like, okay, yeah, we found some magic there, or maybe we didn't. Give us another couple tries. So, as far as our evolution in 30 years, that's one thing I really have enjoyed getting better at, and we still like we really it literally gets our blood flowing to create music. It's still the one of the things that we have to do as a band, um, and then we have to get out and play live every now and then too.
Yep, yep. And you're doing that now. We're looking forward to seeing you at the fairgrounds, actually, in Crownsville, Maryland, not too far from where I am now. Um, so the current Collective Soul record's about a year old. Um, how has the fans' reception been to that as you've been touring along the road? I've been seeing great things about it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like like you said, you started off with some really kind words. Yeah, um, it's great to be able to create fresh, cool sounding tunes 30 years later, and fans of course adore it, and we can't be any more fortunate to have the fans and the set list we can play. I think it's really hard to upset the Collective Soul fans because the records are so deep that there's a lot of different directions we can go, and of course we're going to play the larger percentage of the big hits that everybody wants to play, but there's so many different angles and different ways we can go, and a Collective Soul fan is still going to be really happy with that. So it's a good spot to be in.
When I see vibrating is the music on it sounds to me very similar to the early records. So it's very easy for me to believe, exactly as you say, that though there's been some development, there's a general sound to it, a likability to it that transcends those decades. And I bet you have a bunch of new Collective Soul fans that probably weren't even listening to music at the time your first records came out. Like, do you see them there when you're playing?
We do, and we see multi generations. We see families, which is it's really inspiring when there's a 20-year-old son that grew up listening to it, and the 50-year-old father. They're both enjoying it, and so the multi generational stuff's real special to us. And it means something when that's shared amongst family and shared amongst generations. You mentioned the term soundtrack to your lives, and it can't be. It's really hard to overestimate how important that is.
I certainly agree. Yeah, it's crucial. Music is, and psychologists will tell you everything. Music can be the key to memories, even locked up in things like Alzheimer's. It's an amazing lever into what was important to you, and to see you getting a new generation embracing that, it's got to be really rewarding. Is it still fun to be out there on stage?
Yeah, it is still fun, and we also tried to. I think it was probably maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. We're like, okay, this literally is about having fun. When we take pride in our performance, but we have to have fun. And I started calling the shows a celebration. It's a celebration of life. It's a celebration of memories. Um, and so, yeah, so I look at it like that. It's a celebration, man. We're going to all have fun together in the same room. And that includes everybody from Johnny all the way to the back of the room, at the top of the balcony.
What a great way to put it, because so many look at it, not in a disparaging way necessarily, leaving out things like Turn the Page by Bob Seger, but so many people think of it as a job, as a chore. Touring can be tough on you,
Mhm.
and you got to love it. So to call it a celebration, that's got to be really the right way to think about it. And
Yeah, that's we feel that way. So it's been good for
I mean, Willie Nelson is going out again. What is he, 92? Going out on the road, God bless him.
God
You don't
bless
do
him.
that unless it's fun. So
I'm a fan, and I'm glad he's doing it. That's awesome.
it really is. So um, it's been, let's see, your record, Serengeti Driver. Follow up coming? Anything?
Yeah, I've been busy working with other artists, but I was even talking about that last night with some friends. My next thing, I'm excited about it. It's going to be cool. It'll probably be a little more collaborative with some other friends in the band. Although I always include other people. I didn't even play all the bass parts on Serengeti Driver, but yeah, I would. I'm going to do something. I don't know if we're going to have 10, 11 songs like Serengeti Drivers, but I'm excited about the next releases for my solo stuff.
Very good. Now, did you do all the keys on that album?
Definitely, definitely. And most of those
Yeah.
songs start with keyboard, piano, or some type of Wurlitzer or a Rhodes or something like that. I love those sounds. So yeah, they
Nice.
all start. A couple of them started on acoustic guitar, and there was a couple other ones that started on acoustic guitar. But for the most part, I start most of these songs on piano.
Yep, yep. I read that about you. Did not know that until I was researching that your keyboard was first for you, right?
Yeah, I'm a refugee on bass, which you find out a lot of bassists are kind of refugees from other instruments. Yeah, it was one of those stories where I was best of friends and understood what Collective Soul was doing, and I would sit in and play percussion with them and sing backups. And then one day, I decided to tell Ed I would commit to the bass, and I didn't play bass at that point or didn't own one,
Mhm.
and we proceeded to make that happen. So I'm thankful for that because it wasn't maybe 6 months later Atlantic Records was signing us. So the
Good
timing was good.
timing. Yeah, very good. Very good. So you didn't play, but did you play guitar before you started playing bass?
I picked up guitar around 13, 14 years old. So I
Okay.
understood the fretboard and piano and music theory and everything was part of my nature in general. And I kind of look at instruments all the same. There's some technique and some things to work on. And it took me years to really feel like I was an adequate bassist. Um, but but I still look at every instrument and music in the same. It comes from the same spot in my brain. Is I'm really going to probably be thinking about a keyboard if I'm thinking about actual notes. But I'm just trying to create my feel, man. I'm trying to open my mind and my ears to a way that will allow something something to slip in there that's cool as maybe something like one of my heroes would have played or whatever. That's how I try to open it up, and as opposed to the other way around where you're trying to think about what would sound good and you play that. I try to just let something naturally fall into my lap, and then I try to mimic whatever that was that I thought was might sound cool, and then sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
That is true. Yeah, with the ears and the mind, it's pretty much the same. But getting calluses on your fingers probably was a good head start
Ooh,
before
they're
you get.
thick, boy. They're thick when you play bass. Those calluses are big
Yep.
and thick.
So it hurts my
And
fingers.
even 30 years later, if I haven't toured, if we've been off the road for 3 or 4 months, oh yeah, that first 10 days, I'm sore.
Mhm.
Fingertips are sore.
Yeah, well, it's you did a fantastic job of the band keeping the bottom end in there, and there's a lot going on, which I think probably what keeps your music relevant is that as fads come and go, there's something in Collective Soul that people who probably wouldn't otherwise like your music would hear and go, oh yeah, okay, because it is so. It's challenging is probably the wrong word, but it's an experience to listen to it. If you put time into thinking about what is being played, you're well rewarded for it. Um, so much of the music is formulaic, is
Right.
very thick and overly compressed and very rhythmic, which makes good dance music. But at the same time, one's kind of like the other, right?
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah,
nice to
we
see that
we
change.
we go at it with the style of we want the music to breathe and we want to play the dynamics. We don't want to try to compress the dynamics. Obviously, the signals are compressed, but we'd rather hear some natural ups and downs and let the songs breathe and have a little bit more of a feel like they have a little bit more of a life and an energy and a vibe that way if we can find it and if we do find it, then to us it feels more like oh, that was a band that came up with an idea, and then there's strength there in that. So that's what we go for.
Very good. Very good. So I was reading about how Ed sort of initially was sort of the songwriter, and it made a lot of sense early on to show how diverse his abilities were. But one of the interviews I read from I think a couple of years ago, he said, "This is it. This is the band. This is what I'm doing forever." And it just seemed like he had a little bit of a philosophy change. And you'd mentioned earlier just now about how the band enjoys playing live and getting out there. So do you see really, because you work with songwriters too, and you are one, of course, do you see where putting it together in one band, in one package, if you will, has either a different, not necessarily a better, but a different kind of success than being a producer or songwriter able to work in any genre?
Yeah, I mean, the word band is still relevant when you can come together as individuals and create something like bigger than the individuals, or, and it's an energy. It turns into something that's magic, right? Because it's just frequencies that hit the human's ear, and as you mentioned earlier, it can heal you. It can bring back memories. It can solidify memories. It can make you sad. It can make you happy. But it's just frequencies hitting your eardrums, mixed with lyric, and it boils down, ultimately it boils down to emotion. And so how do you capture that emotion? It's not a mechanical thing, it's a living humanistic type experience. And when you do it right as a band in the studio and you've got a songwriter like Ed, then hopefully you can get some of that magic. It's hard to explain it, but that's what we're aiming for, some of that magic.
I think I've seen it. It's as diverse a place as to watch, 100 people in a classical symphony doing Flight of the Bumblebee. Just seeing 100 people sweat on stage to get those frequencies out there is
Yeah,
itself impressive,
yeah,
and makes an event that is just like whoa, and watching you guys play live, seeing the records, the videos, stuff like that. You're clearly having fun, and though you didn't mention that in terms of the frequency hitting the ears, that
yeah.
comes along for the ride, right? We get
Right.
that in the audience
I
from
think so. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It sounds like it's a great time to be had. So, what sort of music are you looking for? What are you looking for reel to reel? Who could we, if we want to?
Yeah, anybody who's really good. I mean, uh, I'm working with Odd Army from California. What a great four-piece rock band. Red and the Revelers from Mobile. That's an eight-piece raucous Mississippi Delta, in your face, fun eight-piece band. Mary's just singing pretty songs. Hey Dreamer, progressive rock, another female fronted, Melody Kaiser fronts that band. Everybody's different, and I don't look for a certain genre. I'm interested in, honestly, I feel something tugging me towards some type of stringed band, maybe a bluegrass thing. I want to kind of find that next and work with that. Um, yeah, man, it's all music. So I definitely, it's not a genre thing with real people music. It's just a good, it's just, you gotta have some music that we like.
Yeah, I did hear some of the what I call the eight-string squeaky thing, the mandolin on your record. Yep, yep. So they're great fun. I'm in a cover band in DC, and we've got one, and so yeah, it's just a wonderful thing to have as a sort of a reminder that this all started with folk and started with country, and this is people's music,
Yeah,
right?
true. Yeah.
Yep, yep. And I love the idea that there's that's not just singers and backing tracks and orchestras behind them, but bands, five-piece, six-piece, eight-piece bands that are getting your attention, because it's something that we grew up listening to. And there's, like you said, there's nothing quite like the sum of the five, four or eight guys and girls putting out what any one of them could not do alone.
Right. Yeah. And that's what part of that magic is. And people who love live music, that's what they gravitate towards, is that vibe. And yeah, ultimately it's just, again, frequencies coming out of speakers, you know, and you get to watch these people have fun, but it's magical.
It indeed it is. And it's a good thing with the prices of tickets what they are. Um, People have been complaining about the price of concert seats since I was a little boy, and that's never going to change. But it is getting a little harder, would you
Yeah.
say, for some people to get that
Yeah,
experience?
you got to really pick and choose your moments sometimes, depending on, what's going on. But yeah, we try to keep our ticket prices as low as we can, but it's just kind of baked into the system right now. So
Yeah, I know it's not yours to set in most
yeah,
cases.
no, we can try to tell them where we want it to be, but there's other people that know math more than us, and kind of, it's kind of baked in that way.
Would you say you like playing the smaller venues or the larger ones for any particular reason?
I like them both. They're different. Anywhere there's an enthusiastic crowd is going to be a great night. Some of the smaller venues feel a little more like intimate and close with everybody, because I think some of the smaller venues too, the harder core fans snack up, they snatch those tickets up quick, and then all of a sudden, it's sold out. So the hardcore fans are the ones that are in there quicker. So everybody's really paying attention to every little note. You can tell like it's all right there. Everybody's paying attention to every little thing we're doing. But you put us in front of a large crowd at an amphitheater or an arena, and we're gonna think that's just as cool. Really, I mean, we love that too.
That's an interesting perspective. I hadn't thought about it from your perspective. The first ones that come in and grab it are going to be perhaps your most critical listeners because they
Right,
put a lot on the line, time and money,
right.
to get to where they are sitting in front of you, and they're going to be listening.
Yeah.
That's a good perspective. Yeah, your quality control department, right? So, um, have you seen a resurgence of live music in your locality or in Georgia? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if yeah, I live right near a really cool amphitheater. I'm a couple miles away from an amphitheater that holds about 4,000, and it's got a whole summer series that's coming through. It's great. Um, we don't seem to have any shortage of festivals or events that people are putting on. As a matter of fact, I think some of these secondary markets, you're seeing a lot of really cool venues being built in markets outside of like the downtown areas. And those, once you're now, some of the population centers are so big, you can be an hour outside of in Atlanta, say, which is where I'm at now, and it'd be kind of like a different place. Not really the Atlanta play. It's an hour 15 minutes away from Atlanta, which would have been an Atlanta play 20 years ago. But now the markets have gotten bigger, and yeah, if you go play the amphitheater in LaGrange, which is hour 15 minutes from Atlanta, it's not an Atlanta play anymore. And so a lot of those secondary markets are becoming fertile ground for bands, because they're getting bigger and they're selling tickets at their 5,000, 7,000 seat amphitheaters that are popping up. So that's been kind of fun to watch, and they're all really nice and new also, which is cool. You pull up the tour bus to a new venue and you're like, yeah, this is better. you know
So, yeah, as opposed to say coming up to the 9:30 Club in Washington D.C., which is a great venue to see a band. Don't get me wrong, but it's
it is
kind
a
of
great thing, but
yeah.
it's not new backstage.
No, no, and we've seen what you're talking about in the DC area. About 4 or 5 suburban venues have opened up, 2,000 to 4,000 seats.
Yeah, we
Um,
played the one in Alexandria a number of times, and that's not far away. So
so yeah, said we're looking forward to seeing you guys another week, I guess, in Crownsville, Maryland. That's a state fairground. But I bet those are fun from
they
time to time.
are, and we're doing a decent amount of like events and festivals this summer. Next year will be more of a focused actual tour with Collective Soul and probably another couple of bands. And we will have that record out that I mentioned next year, early next year, and the quintessential Collective Soul documentary will be out next year, 30 years. So
How
next year will
about
be 30.
that? Well, there's something to look forward to. All right. So, what else have we not spoken of that you want fans of either your efforts, Serengeti Drivers, or Collective Soul, or Reel to Reel Recording? What else do you want your fans to know?
I don't know. Just follow us and keep listening to the music and come see us live. Like I said, it's a celebration of life. So come see Collective Soul and celebrate with us. Um, the same socials as always. Go to Real Studios. You can follow some of the artists I'm producing, and then you got my stuff and again Collective Soul stuff. So yeah, just come celebrate with us.
I'd be happy to do so. I did like your Facebook page just this morning. I saw some great stuff on there. We obviously want to promote the music community for you and your fans. On that note, also, we have a mobile app available on our site. I'd like you to tell your friends about it and download it. Yeah, it'll cost you $1, but it is going into our pool of money that we're going to use to be basically
Yeah, man. I
the
like y'all's
artists.
plan. I want to talk to y'all more about it, man. And I know y'all can help support our artists as well. So
We absolutely can, and we're looking forward to that opportunity. So we have been speaking with Will Turpin of Collective Soul and at Reel to Reel Studio, and the label is Real Human. Is that what?
real music, it's real people music.
Real people music. Okay, thank you so much for sharing this some time with us, and I look forward to seeing you guys out on the road with Collective Soul and working together with you in the future. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for yours. Appreciate it, Adam.
Take care. Bye bye.